Unified light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev has an upcoming fight this January against Callum Smith for his titles that he wants to unify with against WBA champion Dmitry Bivol. But when pressed about the future of the division, a young fighter by the name of David Benavidez, Beterbiev had no problem answering the question about a future challenge against the likes of someone like David Benavidez. And according to a Boxing News 24 article, link will be in the description box. Unified light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev says he has no problems fighting David Benavidez if he comes up to 175 and wants to face him for his 3 titles. There will be a tremendous amount of fan interest in the fight between the unbeaten Benavidez and Beterbiev in the U.S., possibly even more than one involving WBA light heavyweight champion Dmitry Bivol fighting Artur next year. I am of the belief that that may be spot on, because as you look at the sport of boxing and how it's going, we're seeing competitive fights being made more and more, beginning early in January of this year, 2023, when Ryan Garcia finally stepped up to the plate and Gervonta Tank Davis finally made him the offer that allowed that fight to take place between those two high-profile combatants. And boxing seemingly had taken up the umbrella going forward since then. And so we are seeing competitive matches between top-notch fighters, and as the closing of this year, the Day of Reckoning card with the heavyweight division, with so many heavyweights on that card and not much heavyweight activity outside of Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury taking place earlier this year, not against one another, but Usyk against Danny Dubois and Fury against Francis Ngannou, the rest of the stalwarts of the division decided to come together on that Day of Reckoning card for December 23rd. So Beterbiev and Bivol are expected to fight next year, possibly in Saudi, if both win their next fights. Bivol, who's 21-0, 11 KOs, is defending his WBA title on Saturday, December 23rd against Lyndon Arthur on the Day of Reckoning card in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Now, as this video is being made, it's actually a redo because I had audio problems and this video was supposed to come out before the Day of Reckoning card, but since it's going to be post that card, I will announce here that Bivol went on to a unanimous decision over Lyndon Arthur and had spoken of facing Artur Beterbiev next. So he does and has admitted to his interest in unifying for Undisputed. So, about the Boxing News 24 article, Benavidez, who is 28-0 with 24 KOs, is enormous for the super middleweight division, has talked of wanting to go up to 175 if he can't get the fight that he wants against undisputed 168-pound champion Canelo Alvarez. That's the only guy the 27-year-old Benavidez seems interested in the division. IBF, WBC, and WBO light heavyweight champion Beterbiev, whose record is currently 19-0 with 19 KOs, is one of the top fighters in the sport of boxing whose record is 100% as he's in and out of matches where he prevails with stoppages, sometimes brutal, but all being authentic. Now, he focused on his next opponent, Callum Smith, whose record is 29-1 with 21 KOs. That single loss came to Canelo Alvarez. And he's going to face Smith on January 13th in Quebec City in Canada. Beterbiev was noted to have said he can move up, no problem, of Benavidez. When he was asked about him, he was like, with me, of course, if he wants this fight, no problem. And see, that's where it really stands for a fighter like Arthur, because he's not one for a lot of words. He signs for fights, he comes and performs, and that's typically it for him. Then he goes back and fades off into the sunset until it's time for him to come out again. He says, right now, I'm only thinking about Callum Smith. But you ask me about some different fighter. I respect the fighters, but I don't take them seriously like they're my next opponent. That's why I'm smiling, said Beterbiev. He says, it would be interesting for fans to see. He's like, and they wonder if Benavidez could stand up to Beterbiev's power if he were to move up in weight to 175. Benavidez would still likely have the size advantage over Beterbiev, as he looks like a cruiserweight when he rehydrates for his fights. Once Benavidez moves up to light heavyweight, his weight could increase. But allow me to offer this about that. Anthony Yarde is one of the biggest, talented, young light heavyweights out there. And when he faced Arthur, he looked like a cruiserweight in there. Heavily muscled, size, wide shoulders. He looked like the bigger, stronger man. And Arthur broke him down. Now, when you talk about David, who is typically accustomed to being the come-forward fighter, it's something to think about because he may not be able to do that again against Arthur. We saw Joe Smith Jr. try that, and he was obliterated when trying to blitz Arthur. Right now, that light heavyweight title is really what Arthur brings. And even Dmitry Bivol, with his boxing ability, shouldn't be favored against a fighter like Arthur Beterbiev. But it will be interesting to see these men go for it and match their wares against one another. As I look forward to the January 13th matchup for Beterbiev and Callum Smith, and possibly down the line Bivol and Benavidez, boxing in 2024 could look equally as nice as it has in 2023. But what do you think? This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about this article. Like I said, link will be in the description box. And the chances in the future if he were to go up to 175 for David Benavidez. It'll be interesting. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.